Well, hello and welcome to the World of Zwift, where I feel we're all now a week older, a week stronger, my hair a week more uncooperative, and more importantly, we're all a week deeper into the inaugural Zwift Racing League. I'm OJ Borg, and I am ready to escort you through what we have in store this week. We've got highlights and results from Monday's phenomenal team time trial. Nathan and Dave will be stopping by to give us the lowdown on Monday night's action in London. Matt Lietto brings us the best of the action from the very, very different Z Pro Tri-Series. We take another trip to Kristen Armstrong's achingly impressive Coach's Corner. And Tibco Silicon Valley Bank's Lauren Stevens will be taking us for a little spin through France in her Pro Rider Recon. Monday saw the third instalment of the team time trial, and the competition, well, it's really starting to boil over. But how did our men fare on those mean streets of London town? Well, let's take a look.
Welcome to week number 6 of the Zwift Racing League. Time for the team time trial.
31 kilometers. This is a complicated course to race on. We're going to find a worthy winner.
There is going to be Vine just trying to hang on, and Squirlari's dropping the rest of the team off. Wes are going to be catching turbo here. A little bit of disorganization, it looks like there. They need somebody in their ears there for a DS to say, no, it's still someone's turn. Way too much to slow down. That is a lesson right there on how not to do it. Arrow with an amazing ride, and they have made up some huge time.
We have 4 teams within 4 seconds. The Vitas team, but 2 riders, that's sub-ideal.
Arrow are having a better ride than I was expecting from them.
I have never seen a cleaner pass than what we just witnessed right there.
Theo Otto, look at the speed coming on in. This looks like they're pushing almost 50 kilometers per hour.
Canyon for the win. 21 seconds back for Saris the Pros Closet. This was a command performance. No doubt about it. Canyon Esports remains the kings of the ZRL.
And that is yet another win from the all-conquering Canyon Esports team there, making it 2 from 3 in the team time trials and keeping them at the top of the league table, comfortably so.
Now, as you know, I'm obsessed with people's pain caves, all in the pursuit of creating the best setup possible in my own personal room of boom. This week, I've been most interested in where our elite Zwifters set themselves up when they race. Here's Vitas rider Joe Sutton singing away in his kitchen while racing. Apparently, he can really hold a note. I just wish I knew what he was singing along to. Garages, well, they're always popular in the Canyon camp. Ollie Jones, Alex West, and Gary Muller all race in theirs. When it comes to Saris and the Pros Closet, I'm convinced they might all share a house. Here's Mike Cumming, he's in the kitchen, David Talbot in the attic, and Gavin Dempster in the bathroom. Finally, what caught my eye here was not Mallory McRoasty's lounge, but her amazing pink Specialized and matching pink headband. Oh, I do love a pink bike. You should check out mine. And then there's Mallory's dog, who, let's just say, grabbed my attention. If it itches, scratch it. Anyway, dog or no dog, Mallory looks like a Zwifting superhero with her cape blowing in the wind and her legs, well, doing all the talking. Winning on rider cams, Mallory. Winning on rider cams.
From one inspiring woman to a whole host more. That's right, it's time to take a look at the action from Monday's women's team time trial. I know what you're thinking. Did Hino take home the spoils once more? Well, let's take a look at how it all went down.
Let's go to the women's race. Time for another throwdown in London. 31 kilometers. I race like a girl, fastest now with a 10:45. That split one tells us a lot, but it only really is the first chapter of a long book.
Alice Lethbridge, her turn now. Speed coming right on through. Did you see the 7 watts per kilogram there? Perfectly executed to the front. And now we see those time gaps really starting to open up though. And this is a standout ride here from I Race Like a Girl. And I think this is going to really put them into a solid spot this week.
There's our fastest time now. Almost a minute quicker than Arrow Women's, the team out of Australia. I Race Like a Girl still holding on with a top 3 ride. This is the team that has not missed a step.
This is just showing what kind of a team Heino is as they catch Arrow.
Wow. Just like that, Bob's your uncle.
Here's Heino almost catching Evoke as well.
Holy
How
cow.
many teams did Heino catch out there today?
Heino, perfect. 41-39. That makes it 6 out of 6. Arrow women's team ending up in second.
And two people who always have the best seats in the house when it comes to Zwift team time trials are Nathan Guerra and Dave Toll. And here they are right now to join me. Dave, Nathan, hello.
Hello, OJ.
Hey, OJ.
It is good to have you with me. And Dave, you called Monday the best ever racing you'd seen, which is high praise. High praise indeed. Why? Why was it so good?
It was so competitive on the men's and the women's side. We had a great comeback story with the women's racing. On the men's side of things, there's now 5 teams that are extremely competitive out there. So these battles for it might be sorting out at the very top of the Premier League, but second, third, fourth, they're all in play. These teams are digging deeper than they ever have before.
What we're seeing as well is the teams that know how to ride like a team are doing better.
Oh, without any doubt. We talked about during the broadcast with Nathan about there's only a limited number of teams that can really execute at the very highest end of the team time trial discipline. The other teams, they're using their power, they're riding in the blob formations, but the teams that can get it into single file formation and really just use that classic old school team time trialing techniques are paying off now. It's homework, it's preparation, it's repetition, and the teams that have done that are the ones that are shining now.
And there were some great breakthrough performances on Monday. Aero, I Race Like a Girl really making their mark. Have certain other teams, now listen to Dave, have cracked the TTT code?
Yeah, I would think so. Reality is that Aero, I think, we're trying to figure some things out early on. They're in real life pro-continental riders coming out of Australia, and they are really putting the game together though now as we get into the second half of the season. So Aero, they're on the up and up. Also, No Pins R3R, they have Lou Bates obviously as their strongest rider, but it really was a little bit surprising and really great to see that they were able to rally around how strong that rider is and also bring some of the other talent to the table to get into that third place on the women's side as well. So that was pretty amazing. On another note though, 2020 showed what they've got. Even with an admin error in there, they started 1 minute later than they were supposed to. A little bit of administration error. You got to get everything right. TTT is not just about power. It's also about organization, making sure you got all your ducks in a row. Even with that, they ended up fourth, and they would have only been 29 seconds behind Heino if they would have had the correct start time. So really, really highly contested at the top. Yes, a great mention also there with I Race Like a Girl. Pushing into those top spots in the TTT. Now, on the men's side of things, though, Canyon Esports, I think they're just showing that they're just the strongest, most well-organized team. And when it comes to the TTT, I thought perhaps PO Auto, Boat Racing Team, Aero, Stars, the Pros Closet could challenge, but it goes to show that when Canyon show up to race, they just are absolutely dominant. Shout out, though, to Boat Racing Team. I think they've really figured out how to run a TTT. They've got some... they do things a little bit differently, I think, than everybody else, and they've got some sort of trade secret that they're not telling anyone else at this point that seems to be showing up specifically in the TTT, so I definitely wanted to give kudos to them.
And how did the community teams fare on the London TTT course?
I really wanted to focus in on some breakthrough rides, actually, in the Americas East on the women's side. The Wahoo Finesse chicks, they were not necessarily very high up in the leaderboards early on, and have been practicing specifically on the TTT. They've been doing this Sunday meetup, which is pretty awesome to see. Laura Perry, she's kind of leading things out amongst them. And actually, the men's side of things put the women's side together just specifically for the ZRL as an invitation. Let's have the women's team. They got this team together, and it is blowing up. And they're kind of like an Aero situation on the women's side in the Premier League, where it's like early on, not doing so... maybe fourth, fifth, hanging out in third place overall. And then all of a sudden this week, this big jump up, winning by like 30 seconds. The practice has been paying off, obviously. So that is a big highlight for the Finesse Wahoo chicks. And then on the men's side, also the Finesse Wahoo team, they dominated and walked away with it. They've been, they're they are at the top of the leaderboard week in and week out. And it goes to show, just as a shout out, Jordan Shane, he's been on since beta in Zwift. He recently got named to the Canadian World's team, actually, for the Esport World Championship. So it goes, that's a team I'd be watching out for. Kind of been under the radar because EMEA kind of dominates the whole story sometimes when it comes to who's going to go to the Premier League. But I'd be watching out for that Finesse Wahoo team with the kind of talent that they're showing up with in the Americas East.
Final question, Dave. Who do I write a strongly worded tweet to by describing that TTT course as flat?
It's definitely a misnomer, that was for sure. I also wanted to mention then that in the community, that Revo Scores team coming out of the Americas West Division, that's a team to watch as well, OJ. They're doing a really good job, and they don't get as much coverage being at the end of the day with our community league. Obviously, we make our way around the globe, but if you're able to tune in late at night here in North America on Tuesdays, they're a team to watch for sure.
Well, Dave, Nathan, a pleasure to talk to you as always. We will see you over on Zwift Community Live, and of course, you'll be back for the final TTT race of the season in a couple of weeks' time.
Thanks, OJ.
Thanks, OJ.
Here's a question for you. What's better than one live Zwift race with all the best triathletes on the planet? Correct, well done indeed. Three races back to back to see what these multi-sport athletes are really made of. And that's exactly what happened in the second race of our Z Pro Tri Series on Wednesday night. Matt Lieto, well, he caught up with the winners from the men's and the women's races to find out how much fun it really was.
Okay, I'm here with Ruth Assel, who had a great performance here in round 2. How's it going, Ruth?
Yeah, pretty good. Much better this week than last week, thank God.
It was super tactical and really aggressive. I mean, the amount of points that you got on that first stage was pretty crazy. Did you get points every lap?
I think most laps. There might have been one lap I didn't, but I knew that the hill climb was not that's never that great for me because there's a lot of girls that are much lighter than me. So I kind of knew that I had to go really hard on that first race and try and get loads of points. Then, the second race, I hadn't researched it properly, so I didn't really know where where the little kick was. So I got dropped like a stone on that and was then struggling to make it back. And then, third race, I was pretty happy with that. But, I knew there were stronger girls that would put time into me.
So you were hanging on to that lead, and then going into the last stage, you had a buffer still, but you needed to perform pretty reasonably to get the most points on the day. Now, because we've got 3 races in each round, are you there with are you tabulating as you're riding, knowing where you need to finish, or?
No idea whatsoever. I actually thought I didn't realize that I was still in the lead after the second race until after the third race.
Okay, we're here with Anthony Costas, the winner of the first round of the Z Pro Tri Series, and now he's won the second round as well. Not too bad, Anthony.
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, it was a good night. Actually, maybe feeling better than last week. Last week I had a very, very hard battle against Lionel.
Are your legs pretty trash going into the second race, or do they feel okay?
I was a bit surprised because last week the first race felt terrible. I mean, horrible. And tonight, I don't know. Yeah, the first race was still hard, but maybe less of a pain, or maybe I forgot with the win. I don't know.
James Kunema hasn't won any of the races or won the series, but he's an athlete you battled with in our series race before earlier in the year. Are you surprised to see James in second place? And what do you think you need to do to make sure you don't allow him to jump ahead of you in the lead?
I'm not surprised to see James here. He's a very strong athlete. He's shown in the first series that he was very strong. He won a race last Sunday, a real race, so I think that's pretty good for him. But what's playing against him for the next one is that I think he's racing in Daytona, so he would like to train for that one too. But I will have my legs up, and I will be ready for the last one.
Awesome, I like it. Well, thanks again, Anthony, and good luck for next week.
All right then, you put that away, you sit down and you stop touching it. It's gonna fall off because school is back in session. It's time for us to get our learning hats on as we cozy up
for another Coach's Corner. Our gold medal winning maestro, Kristen Armstrong, is back to dig just a little bit deeper into the tactics of Monday night's team time trial. Take it away, Kristen.
Hey everyone, it's Kristen Armstrong back with the Coach's Corner. The Greatest London Flat proved to be an extremely challenging TTT. Though it has flat in its name, it proved to be anything but flat. In the end, this course exposed teams that weren't as seamless in their execution. So 2 weeks ago on the Magnificent 8, we saw teams seconds from each other. In fact, on the men's side of things, the top 7 teams were all within 10 seconds. This week, the margin for the top 7 teams were well over a minute. Coming off a big win just weeks ago, Vitas Pro Cycling, they struggled keeping their team together on the false flat sections, with Mikey Mottram coming off the front and his team chasing from behind, which in the end kept them from a top 10 result on the day. A great example of seamless execution was from Pio Auto, riding in a straight line with strong, powerful pulls on the front. An esport tactic to take note of while watching Pio Auto is referred to as sink and sprint. This is when the front rider, after taking their pull, goes from well over 6.0 watts per kilo to almost 0 watts per kilo. And once they hit the last rider, shoulder to shoulder, they sprint to ensure they stick back in with their team. Now this tactic is definitely different than what you would see in real life TTT. Canyon Esports ended up with the big W this week. The differentiator was their depth. All 5 riders proved to contribute equally, and this was best shown on the 2-minute climb as they entered in Surrey Hills, where the team stayed together, taking shorter 30-second powerful pulls to the top, some of which were hitting over 7 watts per kilo. The execution and tactics of Canyon was second to none. As they approached the finish line, Alex West, he took a suicide move and sacrificed everything in that final 500 meters, giving it all for his team. The top 3 teams, Canyon Esports, Sarah's Pros Closet, and Pio Auto, they continue to fight. They bring knowledge and power. The differentiator from day to day is in their execution as one unit. I'll see you next week, and best of luck.
It's time now to look ahead to what's coming up on Monday, when the ZRL will be back with a points race on the, wait for my French pronunciation, Petit Boucle. And I thought to myself, who'd be best to show off this course in France? Maybe somebody who has won on the Champs-Élysées in July's virtual Tour de France. Someone who's headed to the first ever UCI Cycling Esports World Championships. Maybe someone who used to be a high school maths teacher. Well, luckily I found someone who fits all of those criteria and more. It's Tibco Silicon Valley Bank's Lauren Stevens with her very own Pro Rider Recon.
Hi, I'm Lauren Stevens, and I'm here reconning the Petit Boucle course here in the France World on Zwift. This course today, it has a lot of flat sections, but it also has some unexpected rolling sections that can kind of catch riders off guard. There's not a lot of conserving energy in the beginning of the race because the goal is to stay in that front group. So definitely using markers on the course to help yourself remember where sections are, how close you are to the next section is important. So when we were racing the virtual Tour de France, we had Nina Kessler going for the first sprint. Not only did we have her going for the first sprint, we wanted her to keep pushing it after that first sprint. And the reason is the aqueducts come only 2K after that first sprint. So on a course that terrain-wise is relatively flat, we have to use our riders to make the course harder. One reason you would keep a race hard is if you don't want to give riders an opportunity to attack. What's most important in the sprint is to just stay in those top 10 wheels as we cross that line that starts the sprint. Once you can see that finish line is when you're going to really push. The grade 0% now, which is a chance to get a short recovery if you're in the wheels. All right, 3%, we got to start pushing. And now, I push. With a KOM or a QOM, the field's going to be strung out. So it's all about just accelerating. coming up on the balloon sprint. We've actually hit a pretty difficult part of the course. We're on a pretty long, sustained climb. We're 4% now, 5%, and we'll be climbing for quite a while here. For this descent, first, the most important thing is to get reconnected with the other riders. Once you're reconnected with the other riders, then focus on recovery. So for the sprints, we're looking for the other riders to begin their acceleration. So they start lifting the speed. I just hit a 3 to 5% section, so I want to make sure I push a little bit to maintain my position in the group. I think it's really important to pay attention to the distance to go. This finish line just kind of pops around the corner and all of a sudden it's there. You don't really see it off in the distance. And that's 1K to go. From this point on, I'm just focused on the other riders. 500 meters. That was Petit Boucle. Good luck to anyone racing in these upcoming races. I'll be watching.
All right, stick a fork in me because we are done. And I quite like that sort of thing. Now, make sure you tune in on Monday to join Matt Stevens and Hannah Walker for the last points race of the ZRL season. It's going to be a cracker. Matt Lietto and Sarah True, they'll be here on Wednesday for the final race of the Z Pro Tri-Series. And then I'll be back right here in this chair on Friday to round off your week with another serving of the World of Zwift. Until then, don't just ride, race and ride on.